Formula One fans, the 2026 Ferrari engine hides a secret, and it just came out on motorsport.com. Ferrari chose a steel alloy cylinder head. No more aluminum, but steel. Yes, you heard that right. Heavier. The first thing you wonder is why? Why did Ferrari choose a heavier material? When generally you move toward lightweight structures, the answer is fascinating. Steel resists much better at high pressures and temperatures, and this allows Ferrari to reduce radiator dimensions. Smaller radiators means aerodynamic advantage, more favorable silhouette, more compact geometry, but there's much more. Saying steel weighs more than aluminum is true, but it's a simplistic oversimplification. The 2026 regulations impose a minimum power unit weight, increased by about 30 kilos. This completely changes the picture. And Ferrari has a clear strategy. It won't follow Mercedes' workaround on hot compression ratio, but focuses on structural reliability and 2 engine versions, one for testing and one evolved after a few races. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you is fundamental. An interesting article came out on motorsport.com announcing the use for the 2026 season for Ferrari power units of a new cylinder head, no longer in aluminum, but in steel alloy. Now we know that steel alloy, however refined and sophisticated it may be, is certainly heavier than an aluminum structure. And you ask yourself, why did Ferrari choose to use? For its 2026 power unit, for the thermal part of the 2026 power unit. A cylinder head built with heavier material. The answer could be there. And as a technical enthusiast, and as an engineer too, I feel I can say that choosing steel instead of lighter aluminum is an unusual choice in the racing world. Generally, you move toward lightweight structures, resistant, but not toward heavier structures. It could be determined by the steel alloy's capacity to be much more resistant to stresses related to high pressures and high temperatures. Why does this happen? We know thermal units today have maximum power of about 500 horsepower on the new 2026 Formula One power units. Because you want to give proper space to the part deriving from energy recovery, from the purely electric part, which makes the engine hybrid. Well, in a context where the thermal unit loses power, in terms of maximum values, why are you looking for a cylinder head with mechanical resistance capacity at high temperature and pressure, greater compared to logic, that would make aluminum easily usable? So faced with this choice made by Ferrari, probably very reasoned, there could be some requirements. An explanation that comes to me immediately and more logically is thinking about the fact that they want to greatly reduce radiator dimensions, especially water cooling ones, and therefore, to give an aerodynamic advantage. You push hard on component resistance capabilities, and probably the cylinder head is the one most subject to suffering from strong thermal stresses, related precisely to the operation of the thermal engine itself. So you move toward using more resistant materials, precisely to have radiator dimensions, and especially that of the cooling circuit, more compact and smaller, and therefore have an aerodynamic advantage that allows having a car silhouette. Certainly more favorable with an allocation also of radiating masses, especially water radiators, more favorable, and also geometrically more compact and smaller. This could be the explanation for the choice of having a steel cylinder head. Here, an important clarification is immediately needed. Saying steel weighs more than aluminum is true, but it's also a simplistic oversimplification, if not contextualized. The 2026 regulations impose a minimum power unit weight, increased by about 30 kilos compared to 2025, and this completely changes the picture. In this context, a steel cylinder head can guarantee higher combustion chamber pressures and more extreme operating temperatures, increasing structural reliability in extremely stressed areas. However, I'd like to add some considerations. Regarding this steel cylinder head discussion, I myself expressed my concerns when news arrived a few months ago, in autumn, about the departure of Zimmermann and Schmidt, who were two very talented Austrian engineers who were in Ferrari's service and who today have left, for some months now, Ferrari to join Binotto at Audi. And there's Binotto's hand behind the departure of Zimmermann and Schmidt, because coincidentally they go precisely to the court where the former technical director operates. Mattia Binotto. But for Ferrari, losing Zimmermann and Schmidt represents a significant loss. I would say the departure of two very important collaborators is always something that's regrettable and painful, but the true architect of Ferrari's choice. Here we return to steel cylinder heads, is Ferrari's consulting company since always, and very well known in the racing world, which is the Austrian company. Based in Graz, the engineering company called AVL and AVL, for those who, it's a little-known brand in the field of Formula One enthusiasts, but whoever operates within racing, it's a very well-known company. AVL is a company that provides consulting in terms of engineering for engines, for thermal engines used in the automotive field, and it's one of the most known companies because it also consults in the world of competitions, and it's an important consultant to Ferrari. For example, for many years, and it's also very well known in Indy Formula and in MotoGP, all those who deal with thermal units used in motorcycle and automotive competitions need the consulting of this Austrian company. AVL has 3 locations in Italy, one in Reggio Emilia, which will probably be the one operating most closely with Ferrari, 2 in Piedmont, and where it will certainly collaborate with the Fiat Group. And then it has locations in all countries of the world. In France, in Germany, in Austria, and Graz. Where the mother company, in Brazil and in Australia. It's a very, very appreciated company by those who need consulting in terms of automotive, in terms of high-performance internal combustion engines, and it's precisely from AVL that the necessary support for Ferrari derives. For the definition of these cylinder heads in steel alloy, in special steel alloy. So I would say the future anyway remains interesting and important for Ferrari. The technical part is safe because it all rests on maintaining the relationship with this very important external consultant, very expert and very authoritative in terms of high-performance engines. Therefore, competition regarding the thermal unit, and especially a fundamental detail emerges. Ferrari would reportedly have no intention of following Mercedes' workaround on compression ratio, neither immediately nor later. This opens fascinating questions. Ferrari focuses on a different strategy, not on the hot compression ratio trick, but on structural reliability, and on 2 engine versions, a first unit for testing and season start, and a second evolution planned after the first races. There's talk of 2 versions of Ferrari's power unit, a first unit for testing and season start, and a second evolution planned after the first races. This means Ferrari already knows where to intervene, while remaining fully within regulations. If you already know you'll bring an evolved engine version. After a few races, it means you've identified clear development margins, compatible with rules. And let's remember that some fundamental components, like cylinders and pistons, cannot be touched before 2027 or even 2029. The famous hot compression ratio is certainly a clever trick, a gray area that can be worth a few horsepower and a couple of tenths per lap. This is the secret of Ferrari's 2026 engine. Steel alloy cylinder head to resist high pressures and temperatures, smaller radiators for aerodynamic advantage, more compact and favorable silhouette.